Recently, I have read a book that has become my favorite books since I got back into reading. And it is about a man who is seeking revenge for the malicious attack that was done to him just when his life was going to change for the better. That book is called The Count of Monte Cristo. Welcome back, everybody, to the Insightful Podcast. We gain insight in order to move forward in life. Today's episode will be about a book that I have read recently called The Count of Monte Cristo. The reason I'm making this podcast is because I feel like you can take a lot away from this book and that it can be applicable to your own life. And that is what I'm here to discuss. So, without further ado, let's get straight into it. So, one of the biggest lessons that you can take away from reading The Count of Monte Cristo is that patience will lead to your success. So, basically, in the beginning of the book, his life is going through a great trajectory. He's going to be captain of a ship, he's going to be married to the love of his life, he's going to be able to make more money to support his father. But then everything goes upside down when three men come up with a plan to ruin his life. He ends up spending 13 years in a prison cell that is just concrete and it's cold. But the reason why the patience part, and you could take so much away from what he had to deal with, is obviously that is an extreme. You're most likely not going to go through that in your life, obviously, but you could take a lot away from the patience he has because even though it was a tough existence for those 13 years, he was able to have the patience to know that one day he would be free again. And he was. So, yes, it's an extreme example. So, when it comes to just having patience in your goals or patience in what you want in the future and what kind of life you want to live, but it's the fact that it's such a harsh example that you can almost take that into perspective to yourself and realize, oh, I actually do have the ability to be patient because I might not have to wait 13 years like he did to finally start living the life that he wanted and to have that freedom. Because I didn't mention earlier, but he was unjustly imprisoned by these people. So he still had the patience to see everything through and to become the man that he know he could become and to reach his goal at the end of it, right? So that's the way we need to look at our life, is that just because something is very difficult right now and it's very hard to achieve right now because maybe you don't have the resources to do it or you just don't have the knowledge to set out on your plan, you need to be patient with the work. You need to be patient with the goals because they do not happen overnight. Want to know something that's scary? Is that I went through my task list journal that I would write in every single day in order to see what I needed to get done on a daily basis. And the crazy thing is that the goals that I set out for last year to achieve by the end of this year are actually some of the similar goals that I have for next year. And that scares me because I realize that I wasted so much time that those goals were never achieved. But I also learned a lot this past year when it comes to business and the pursuits that I want to be in life. So at the end of the day, as bad as it may look to myself, and maybe I could be harsh on myself for not taking those goals serious throughout the year, I learned a lot. And now I have the patience to understand that maybe those goals didn't need to be achieved earlier on. Maybe I wasn't the type of man that could achieve those goals and kind of live with those new rewards or whatever it might have been that I had written down. So you need to kind of accept these things and have patience that maybe if it doesn't happen right now, maybe you're undeserving of it or maybe it's not your time yet. So have patience, my friend. And we see this with the Count of Monte Cristo, with Edmond Dantes. We see how patient he is throughout his whole entire life to reach the goals that he wants. And we can also live like that as well. Another thing you can learn from the Count of Monte Cristo is that hope will keep you sane. And what I mean by this is, once again, when you're looking at a goal that you set out for yourself, and maybe it's a goal that's 10 years, that it's so far in the future that it's almost hard to see it. The thing that will help you on your day to day life when you feel like quitting and you feel like you're doubting yourself and you think you're not good enough, is hope. It's just the hope that maybe you won't have it right now, but you will have it in the future. That all you need to do is do the daily work in order to achieve that goal. So that is one of the biggest things I believe we could take away from the whole entire story is the idea of hope and having faith, right? And we could see this in the book as well, is that the Count of Monte Cristo is a very God-fearing man, and he is someone that has faith in God. Even through all the hardships that he's been through in his entire life, he still remains with his faith in God. And that's what allows him to have that hope for the future. So that's why hope is one of the most important things that you could allow to enter into your life. Because let's be honest here. For example, this podcast, I want this podcast to be huge. I want to inspire thousands upon thousands of people. That is a very lofty goal. And if I keep releasing podcasts day by day and I'm not getting the results I want, the only thing that will allow me to keep pushing forward when I'm not getting the results that I want, like I said earlier, will be that hope, right? I have a goal, for example, of this next year to drop 200 podcasts. I want to have 260 episodes of the podcast by December 31st, 2025. That's going to be very difficult to achieve. It's an average of 4 podcasts a week. But if I have the hope that I just focus on the work and the results will come through my work, I will be able to keep pushing forward, and that hope will keep me sane. My next point that I want to make about my process of reading the book is what not to do when reading. So basically, I started a Goodreads account, right? And I've had this for, I guess, the entirety of this year. And I realized that I actually got The Count of Monte Cristo from the library and I was reading it, but you could only have a book checked out for so long. And it got to the point where I was still not done the book and I had to return it. So when I returned it, I actually didn't pick up the book again for another month until I bought it myself. And the worst thing I would say I did is that I didn't read the book consistently. So a lot of things I forgot throughout the story. So when you are reading a long book, like this book was 1,200 pages, it's the longest book that I've ever personally read. When you are reading a book like that, you need to stay consistent, even if it's just 5 to 10 pages a day. You don't want to start to the story in your mind to start to blur or you start to forget it. So that's very important, my friend, is that you need to be consistent with your reading so that you're able to understand the whole timeline of the story. So that was my biggest regret when it comes to the Count of Monte Cristo. And that's why I'll probably end up reading it again in the future, just so I could, see everything that happened and remember everything that happened. The next biggest point I see with just the life and how the Count of Monte Cristo is as an individual is that he excels in all areas of his life. And this is so important for us. How many people do you know that their whole personality is the gym, for example? You know, that all they have is a good physique, and it's very hard to be around them because that's all they speak about and that's all they care about, right? That's all love to those people in the sense that they're chasing a goal and they have a purpose and they have a passion. I am one of those people. But what I see within the story of the Count of Monte Cristo is that he excels in all areas of life. He's a wealthy man. He's, dresses well. He's very mature, very well spoken, very confident. He's able to adapt to certain social situations. He has all these traits. He knows multiple languages, and you just see that and you take it into your own life and you realize that there's so many areas of who you are as a person that you can be improving, and it will just overall make you a better individual, right? What does that look like? It can look like bettering your fitness, starting a business, starting a passion project, learning multiple languages, getting well versed in a certain area of study, if that's history, philosophy. you know there's so many things you could do to improve your character. It is endless. It is absolutely endless. And when you look at it like that, it just gives you fire to do things every single day because you can be improving in so many areas. So that's what you see the most in the story is how well-rounded an individual he is. And if you look at that and you apply it to your own life, you could start to want to become a more well-rounded individual and not just be knowledgeable and, have wisdom in one area of life. You now have it for all areas of life. So that's very important. And that's something that inspired me to not only focus on the things I was already doing, but try to start improving in other ways as well. All right, everybody. This is kind of where I have the podcast ended. That's kind of all I wanted to speak about when it comes to the Count of Monte Cristo. But I do want to leave you with a couple of quotes that I think will help you in your day to day life if you allow them to. The first one: life is a storm, my young friend. You will bask in the sunlight one moment, be shattered on the rocks the next. What makes you a man is what you do when the storm comes. You must look into that storm and shout as you did in Rome. Do your worst, for I will do mine. Then the fates will allow you as we know you. The next quote: it's necessary to have wished for death in order to know how good it is to live. And we see this at the end of the book, is that Edmond Dantes, the Count of Monte Cristo, in those moments where he's in that prison cell alone in the cold, in the dark, he doesn't want to live anymore. He doesn't want to accept the fate that was given to him. But once he is free and once he has achieved the things he wants to achieve, he realizes how truly good life is. And that's all about perspective and overcoming those hard obstacles in your life. So we could take a lot away just from that quote as well. When you are feeling, you know, what's the word? When you are feeling nihilistic, when you are feeling that feeling of despair, is that you know that life will get better, and there has been moments in your life where it was better, and you will return to those moments. So always keep that in mind, my friend. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast and making it this far. If you enjoyed it, remember to follow us on Spotify. We gain insight in order to move forward in life. Let me know in the comments what has been the most impactful episode to you this far, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care, everybody.